Welcome to Diamonds and Dumpster Fires, the show where we talk about finding strength when life falls apart. I'm your host, Melie, and around here, resilience isn't perfection. It's falling flat, getting back up, and maybe laughing about it later. From breakups to breakthroughs, we mix faith, neuroscience, and a little sass to help you rebuild a life that actually feels like yours. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, resilient ones, and welcome back to Diamonds and Dumpster Fires. I'm Melie, and if you are listening to this on the day it releases, which is Christmas Eve, I am so glad you are here. I'm glad you're here whenever you're listening to this. But this episode is a very special Christmas Eve message for you. So, Christmas Eve, when you think about it, is kind of a strange day, right? It's not the celebration yet. It's not the big reveal. It's the night before. And as I was thinking about that, I thought that is actually where a lot of us are in life right now. We are not falling apart, but we're not fully healed. We aren't living the miracle ever after story just yet. We are just here, still standing, still breathing, still waiting. Last year, right around this time, I know I talked about being alone during the holidays, and if you didn't listen to that message, but you find yourself in that place, go ahead and scroll back. It's way towards the beginning of when we started this journey together, but it was released on Christmas Day 2024, and it was about being alone on Christmas. So while that reality is still very real for many people, and it is still very real for me as well, this year kind of felt a little different, and maybe it does for you too. So this year for me feels a little less like intense loneliness and more like just being in the middle. Being in the middle of healing, being in the middle of rebuilding, and being in the middle of just figuring things out. So today I want to talk about that space, that in-between pause, that waiting time, because I think Christmas Eve is actually the perfect place to do that. We talk a lot about Christmas Day, the joy, the hope, the light, and Christmas Eve remains quiet. In the story itself, Christmas Eve is that moment before everything changes. It's the night where nothing looks resolved yet. Mary is still pregnant. Joseph still probably doesn't know how this is going to work out. They're still traveling, still displaced, still uncomfortable, and nothing is tied up with a bow. And I think sometimes we forget that. We jump straight to the miracle and skip over that waiting. But the waiting matters because that is where trust is formed, and that is where endurance grows. Waiting is where hope can take root even before it feels real. And if you are currently in a place where life feels like it's stuck right now, I want you to know something. You are not behind, you are not failing, and you are not missing the point. You are exactly where a lot of sacred stories begin. But let's talk about when life feels unresolved, because there is something deeply uncomfortable for us about unresolved seasons. And that is because our brains do not like uncertainty. They want closure. They want timelines. They want evidence that things are moving in the right direction. So, when life doesn't give us that, our nervous system starts scanning for danger. We start asking questions like, am I doing something wrong? Did I miss my chance? What if this never changes? And the holidays can amplify that feeling because on Instagram or whatever social media you use, you look at other people's lives and it feels like their lives are shiny and finished. You know, they've got their Christmas card pictures with matching pajamas. They're making big announcements and highlight reels. And if you're anything like me, you're sitting by yourself thinking, wow, I didn't even put up a tree this year. So if you were just trying to get through the week without spiraling, I want to gently remind you, being in the middle does not mean that you failed. Unfinished does not mean unworthy. It just means that you're human. And here's something that I've learned both from lived experience and from faith. Dumpster fires rarely go out overnight. Healing is usually a lot slower than what we want, and clarity often takes longer than we expect. Restoration often comes in pieces, not all at once. And sometimes the miracle isn't that everything changes. Sometimes the miracle is that you're still here. And I know that's hard to hear because I think, in our culture, we want the big comeback story, the everything worked out great, the she got divorced and left from a text message, and then the love of her life showed up and everything was perfect. And that's not my story, as you all know. But the miracle is that we're still here, still choosing kindness, still choosing faith, even when life is quiet, and still choosing to try again tomorrow. That matters more than we often give it credit for. So let's talk about the nervous system piece of all of this, because this is important. When you're in a prolonged season of waiting or uncertainty, your brain starts working overtime. It tries to keep you safe and it looks for patterns. So you can kind of think of it like it's bracing for impact. And the way that shows up in our lives can be restlessness. Maybe it's emotional numbness. Maybe you have this feeling that you're just on edge for no clear reason. Or maybe you're feeling tired even when you've gotten enough sleep. None of that means that you're weak. It means your system has been carrying a lot. And I'm going to go ahead and plug my app here one more time because I think it's important. And this is actually one of the reasons that I created Renewed Mind. It's not for those moments when life just feels great, but it's for seasons like this when you're in the middle. Seasons where you don't need someone to tell you, just be more grateful or think positive and everything will work out. That is not what you need, right? You need gentleness. You need steadiness. You need tools that can help your nervous system feel safe again. And my app, Renewed Mind, you can get it at renewedmind.app. It was built to meet people in the middle with small check-ins, grounding practices, and space to be honest about how you're actually doing. There's no pressure to fix yourself. There's absolutely no forced positivity, just support right where you need it. So if that sounds like something you need, it is there for you. And if not, that's okay too. So back to the episode. Here is something that I want to offer you today, tonight, whenever you are listening to this. Hope does not have to be big to be real. And I'm going to say that again. Hope does not have to be big to be real. Hope does not have to come with perfect clarity. It doesn't have to arrive fully formed. Sometimes, hope can just simply look like getting out of bed on a day you didn't want to. Saying no when that is what you need. Letting yourself rest without feeling guilty about it, and trusting that this season is absolutely not the end of your story. So maybe tonight, hope doesn't need to shout. Maybe it just needs to sit beside you and say, I am still here. And here is your Christmas Eve permission slip in case you feel like you need one. You do not need to evaluate your life today. You do not need to sit around and measure your progress. You do not need to compare your season to someone else's. And you are allowed to rest in the unresolved. You are allowed to be a work in progress, to be in the middle of what might feel like a mess right now. Because remember this, Christmas did not begin with fireworks. It began quietly, in the dark, with trust, not certainty. So if tonight feels calm, let it be calm. If it feels heavy, let it be heavy. If it feels strangely ordinary, that's okay too. You don't have to force meaning out of this moment. Remember, light is coming, even if you can't see it yet. Even if you are still in the waiting season, you are not forgotten, you are not behind, you, my friend, are still becoming. And that is more than enough for tonight. So, Merry Christmas Eve, and I will see you on the other side of the waiting. Bye for now. That's a wrap on this episode of Diamonds and Dumpster Fires. If you're walking through the ashes right now, remember, you're not broken. You are becoming. Don't forget to subscribe, share with a friend who needs it, and come back next week for more faith, honesty, and a whole lot of heart. See you next time.